Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the AEW Dynamite Modcast review. We've been on a bit of a hiatus recently. That's mostly my fault, or almost entirely my fault. But we are back, and we are back with a vengeance. We have a really interesting show to talk to you about today. I'm joined, as I am every week, or every week that we do this show at least, by the I always struggle to come up with an adjective at this point, so I'm just going to say my co-host, Dory. Please introduce yourself to the faithful.
The most unbiased way to introduce me, truly. Hello, everyone. Good to be back. Excited to take another look at this Dynamite and what went down, which was a couple of really good matches and a couple of really good promos.
Yeah, pretty much. This was a lot more sort of promo heavy episode. I suppose the post pay-per-view episodes tend to be anyway.
Yeah. I mean, usually the pre-pay-per-view, the go home show, and then I don't know what the opposite of the go home show is. The go abroad show is often the promo heavy one because you're either finishing a lot of stories or continuing them or ending them. I mean, there's a big movement no matter what, right? So usually AEW will do that, which is always why I laugh when people are like, why does AEW have so many promos? Well, because they're right before or right after a pay-per-view. Otherwise, it's weird, yeah, but here it makes sense.
I also love that people are like, "Oh, the Double or Nothing was way too long," and then it's like AEW has too many promos. Like, damn, bitch, choose whether you want, too much wrestling or not enough wrestling. God damn.
Yeah, personally, I like getting my money's worth, but hey, I mean, I guess I'm a rube.
Honestly,
Also, I did hear about this invention called the pause button, and you can return to things later on. So I don't know if people know about that. Just throwing that out there. DVRs are
I
also a thing.
I
I know some
don't
people don't like
believe
that
you.
though.
Well, there's a whole spectrum of people who have diverse opinions on this matter.
All right, all right. You're gonna get me raging.
Anyway, we have a show to talk about, Dory.
My bad. My bad. All right,
No, I know.
let's get to the intro opening promo, which was awesome.
It really was. It really was. The show started off, the pyro goes off, and you can immediately hear, by the way, that this crowd is going to be really fucking loud all night. Which, again, we say this every week. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a surprise at this point. It shouldn't even be a talking point at this point. But I do just want to put over this crowd was ridiculously hot, especially for this opening segment. But yeah, Tony Schiavone is in the ring. And he says, we've come off an excellent pay-per-view, which it was, by the way. Go and check out our review that we did a couple of days ago, because that show, oh my God, still buzzing off of it. But yeah, Tony Schiavone's in the ring, says we had a great show on Sunday. The Owen Hart Cup was decided, and let us bring in one of the winners right now, Hangman Adam Page, and the crowd goes really nuts. Let's just litigate this right now. The right winner?
I don't think there was a wrong winner.
I agree.
I thought that Ospreay was going to win, but I don't care that I'm wrong, and I'm glad that Hangman's getting his redemption arc. And I know that opens up a lot of questions. What do you do with Ospreay? He will be fine. He will get into some really cool feuds. Maybe he will become the Intercontinental Champion off of Kenny. Maybe they run that back. I think that there is plenty for Ospreay to do that is befitting of his caliber, and I'm not super worried about it. I'm more honestly worried about the Hangman match, which we talked about a little bit last time. But either way, I'm very happy Hangman won. I think that's the emotional win, and Ospreay would have been more of like the physical win because he's been grinding. I mean, every week, and obviously he completely. I know this is a very trite line, but he definitely deserves it. So yeah, I'm glad they went with the emotional side. I mean, 5 seconds into Hangman, no, like a minute into Hangman's promo, I was like, well, I'm convinced. Give him the title. Just give it to him now. Fuck all in. Just throw it at him. Just throw the briefcase at him and just give him another concussion. Let's go. Let's give him the title.
I mean, we'll get to concussions later because fuck me.
God, that's true.
But yeah, this promo was magnificent. Because it was pure and from the heart. He's saying like, that I think I've got the line here, triumph in life is fleeting, but so is defeat. And I'd lost sight of it over the past 3 years. Because let's be honest, in sort of kayfabe, it's not been a great 3 years for Hangman Page ever since he lost
Yeah.
the title. We could outside of kayfabe is I'd say it's actually been a really great 3 years. Hangman and Swerve is one of the best feuds I've ever seen in my long time as a wrestling fan. But you could understand it being like, for 3 years I've been down a really dark path or whatever, but now I see why I'm fighting, and I really liked as well about this promo. I get a bit scatterbrained, I know. I really liked that this was the starting gun on this name needs to be about the Death Riders. You get what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I loved this promo. Heyman felt so focused. I loved sort of the nod to, you know, learning from your defeats and like appreciating your victories and having that as a part of Hangman be something that he just, like you said, had lost sight of because of his feuds with Swerve, with CD, with Jeff Jarrett, with everybody else. So I really liked this in general. I mean, I honestly think, and I said this on Blue Sky, I honestly think that Hangman is one of the best promos of all time. I believe every single one of his words. He says it with such genuine energy. I don't think I've ever seen Hangman flub a line. Like I don't think that's a big deal, right? Because it's live TV and that always happens. But I
Mm.
just a little notch. I don't think I've ever seen him mess up his lines or just he's just such a professional. Like this guy, and you and I have said this before, and we've seen other friends of ours say it. This guy could act. I mean, this guy could be in a movie, and I would
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah, yeah.
believe every word that he's saying is true. So, one interesting thing he did here is he immediately gave back the Owen the Owen tournament belt, and I thought that was interesting. It
Mm.
really shows him, really focusing on the Death Riders, really focusing on the belt that he wants. So that was all great stuff. And then we had absolute madness.
We really did. One thing I want to put over just before we talk about the madness that ensues. He said that he needs to take back the All Elite Wrestling Men's World Championship,
Yes.
which really popped me because yeah, that wonderful, love that equality, and it like little things like that. It not only makes not only makes you think, oh, wonderful, that's a really cool line or whatever, but it just reinforces that notion that you should be caring about what ended up being the main event. Mercedes versus Tony. That is something that should focus your attention because these titles are in sort of kayfabe on parity. They're the world
Right.
championships.
Yeah,
But yeah, love
absolutely.
that
I,
line.
I really like that. And yeah, there's not much to say here, but I also really appreciated that. And I'm probably gonna also start calling it the men's world title because, or
Hmm.
I think I have been, but like I'm kind of inconsistent about it. But yeah, it's a good thing to specify.
Hmm. Also reminds me, just off on a little tangent, that there was a time in sort of like I think it was 2018 or so when Ronda Rousey started calling her belt I think it was like the SmackDown World Championship, and people lost their fucking minds because it was like, no, no, the usual suspects lost their fucking minds, I should
Of
say.
course.
It was like, no, 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 you're the women's championship. The world championship is something else. It's like, fuck off, maybe. But I don't know. That's just something I remember.
Went all Adam
But
Cole there
yes.
for a second.
um, yeah, where was I? Oh yes, absolute chaos. Because then,
Absolute chaos happened.
speaking, we were talking about Hangman and Swerve, whose music hits. Swerve's music hits, and I remember watching. I read back the live chat earlier. We just all lost our fucking minds when that
I
music hit.
audibly screamed, "What?" And I was like, and Kim was looking at me like I was possessed, which I was possessed. I was possessed by two men who are in a toxic yaoi relationship. But I, I just, yeah, I popped so big. I did not expect it at all.
Absolutely. And I really like Swerve's motivations here, because it wasn't just like for no reason. It wasn't just, oh, because
Yeah.
they're, the rivals or whatever. Swerve had actual motivations to come out here, because the Young Bucks, very sort of slyly, very cheekily, after they cost Swerve the title at Dynasty, came out and said, we did it, for our friend Hangman Adam Page. You may have lost sight of us, but we never lost you. We love you, buddy. Obviously, just the Bucks stir shit. That's the whole point of this. That they were stirring the pot.
Our founding
And then,
fathers would never.
no, I do apologize. They are, they are the most esteemed executive vice presidents of All Elite Wrestling.
Right.
How could I ever besmirch
Extremely
how
violent
could I
people.
ever besmirch their good name? But they were stirring shit, which is very funny. And then obviously Swerve comes out as like, this was your doing, wasn't it? And he's like, don't lie to me. Was it you? And Hangman just goes, well, dumbass. And it's like, oh my god.
I love that. Whenever he says dumbass, I'm just a big fan, and it was great on Blue Sky. It's great here, and it was great. It's also great. I remember he called him dumbass last time too. I mean, it's such a good line, and anytime these two are together on screen, I'm always excited. I'm always really interested in what's going to happen next. And I just had no idea. I'm like, well, I mean, Swerve's not going to get that title. And like, they're not doing the tag match with the Bucks, are they? And so I'm so curious, like, what is this leading to? Like, is it all of them
Wow.
just generically teaming up to face the Death Riders? Is it blood and guts? Is it a tag match with Hangman and Swerve still against the Bucks, like what, or a trios match that has the Bucks and maybe Moxley? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm so all those possibilities are good ones.
I have my theory. But we'll talk about that right at the end, or at the end of this sort of segment anyway, because I want to I want to talk about, Hangman says to Swerve, I looked at you and I looked at Moxley when we were in the ring together, and for 1 second, I thought about helping you, and basically says, if I wanted to cost you the title, I would have done it to your face. And Swerve says, yeah, I got the line here. Sounds good, but you're still full of shit. And they start squaring up, and in like Avengers Assemble moment, which we've had quite a few of these at the start of AEW, where it's just like AEW, putting front and center. These are the top guys of the division all involved in this one program, because Will Ospreay's music hits, and again the place and our live chat when we were watching lost their collective shit, because this is Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. Like you get the three top guys in the ring, the three top baby faces, and all of them. I mean, unembarrassedly, unironically, cinema. Like just incredible stuff. Just having all three of the top baby faces in the ring at the same time, all having conflicted feelings, complicated feelings. They're not getting along just because they're baby faces, and they all have a history with each other. Will's trying to play the peacemaker, and not that one. And like Osprey is trying to do his best to be like, "Yo, bruv, like chill out," and basically it's like that moment where Max and Adam told Shivani to shut up at the same time. I could imagine Swerve and Hangman telling Mr. Bruv over there to shut up at the same time. So, not
Yeah,
didn't really go well, but it was such a cool sight.
it really was. And also, I wanna say as well, you talk about Hangman being one of the most sort of believable, genuine promos of all time. That I agree with you, and that's also how I feel about Will Ospreay, because I, sometimes you hear people cut promos and it's like, oh, well, they're obviously in character. Like, I absolutely adore Tony Storm's promo delivery, but you can tell it's a character, because she's a character-driven sort of personality. With Will Ospreay, I don't feel like that. I just feel like this is Will Ospreay, the person, talking at me, and it just happens to be on camera. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
like I 100% genuinely believe every word he says. And so when he's like harkening back to when he was on the indies and Swerve Strickland would look after him, he said, I look up to you like you're my big brother. And they talked about that. That's harkening back as well to when they had that feud sort of mid last year. That played into it as well, where it was like these two were legitimately really good friends, or they were sort of in kayfabe before AEW. So it's like, there's so many layers to this. There's so many threads that you can pull on. Oh, it's a masterclass of storytelling. It really is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was very invested the whole time as they were talking, wondering who was going to snap first, what was it going to lead to, what is it leading to. I just think that there, like I said, so many different paths of this can go down, and I'm pretty much here for any of them. Um, I don't.
Mm.
I liked that. I totally forgotten that when Ospreay lost to Swerve, and of course we know the behind the scenes thing that both of them were pushing for each other to lose
Mm.
or to win, right? And then also I believe Ospreay wanted Swerve to go over, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of anti-Hoganing, but also like that kind of mirroring of like, I'm not going to say it was intentional, right? I'm not going to say long-term booking or whatever. I have no idea. But it is cool either way that Ospreay's like, remember when I came back and shook your hand and then Heyman came back and shook my hand. I saw that same look that I had in my eyes or whatever, that he's a good one. He's not with the Bucks. Like, you're on the wrong side of this one. You got to let it go, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, this segment was so good.
It really was. It was so excellently sort of paced and produced and executed by everyone involved. Just yeah, really excellent. And I this sort of highlights to me, the founding sort of mythos of the Death Rider story has been, ever since they took out Danielson, whatever, since John Moxley got the title, the mythos of the story, the crutch of the whole entire angle has been, you cannot defeat us one by one. You cannot defeat us on your own. You are going to have to, AEW is going to have to band together and sort out their differences and sort of elevate themselves in order to take us out. Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you will never ever defeat us. And that was absolutely drawn into close focus here because, Swerve says he'll never team with Hangman, and Hangman says he'll never team with Swerve. So it's like that. It's the same sort of thing of like Moxley's looking at that laughing because it's the same sort of ethos. You're never gonna win by just taking us on one by one.
And
You have to.
I think that's what's going to lead Moxley to underestimate Hangman, because in his mind, him and Swerve are never going to team up. Maybe Ospreay will back him, but Swerve will never back him. And so I don't know if that's the ultimate thing, or Darby coming back and helping Hangman win. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I do feel like Team AEW, a lot of the originals, right? Or at least half of them are originals. Swerve and Ospreay obviously aren't, but they've been with the company for a couple years now. And I think that's what's going to happen. Maybe you get a blood and guts, or maybe you don't. But either way, you have another Team AEW stuff. Which, I mean, I know some people are down on the whole like I love AEW, pro AEW thing, like from a kayfabe perspective. But like, as long as they don't overdo it, right, it doesn't really bother me. I mean, they are fighting for what the company is looking like, and I don't have an inherent issue with them calling attention to that. Just don't overdo it in promos and like treat the fans like they're, I don't know, like they're babies or whatever.
I think the difference is as well that back when they were doing the whole Team AEW versus, for example, the Elite like weren't that bad. If you get what I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't actively intruding on the lives of loads and loads of people in the company. Whereas the Death Riders, they really have, especially in the last sort of few weeks of stuff, they have sort of run roughshod over a lot of people in AEW. So when they say, "Oh, it's Team AEW," it's it's more sort of the anti-Death Riders coalition. Like they are fighting for AEW, but only so much as the Death Riders have sort of absolutely roughshod over them. So I believe them more when they say, you know, they're fighting for AEW, or they're banding together to take on this big evil threatening the company. Because far more than the Elite ever did, they are threatening the company, you know, in sort of a storyline way. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what the
I
fuck did
buy into it a lot more.
what the fuck did the Elite do? Right, they pile drived the owner of the company, and they killed Kenny for about 6 months. But other than that, they didn't do anything.
But that's the thing, see. Yeah, they did that, and you know, obviously that's bad, but that turns it into, oh well, we're caping for a billionaire. Whereas this time it's more sort of, no,
Yeah, that's true.
we're going after the guys that have been, you know, they killed in kayfabe, they killed Rampage, for example. You know, they
Right, right.
stormed the set and killed it dead. They've done a lot more to sort of to in kayfabe tear at the fabric of AEW than the Elite ever did. And now the Bucks are siding with them anyway, so you have that sort of added stipulation on top of that. You know, that's what's kept Swerve Strickland in the orbit of this story, you know, going forward, even after Dynasty, is that he wants revenge on the Bucks, and the Bucks are working with the Death Riders. So that keeps him in the loop. You know,
Yeah.
there's some, like I say, that it's been much better done than the Elite storyline, and I think people are starting to realize it. You know, there's a lot more sort of buzz online of like, I think the Death Riders are good now, and I know that there are some people who are like, well, it always has been. You've just, you know, you're just a mark who couldn't see the forest for the trees, and it's like, okay, first of all, it wasn't always brilliant. But second of all, it's been a lot better, and it's been a lot more character focused these last sort of couple of months, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we have probably beat this dead horse enough, but this segment was incredible.
Yes, sorry, yeah, no, I that was a proper sort of from the heart. Like, I need to talk about this because when else do I get the chance on a live mic? Um, But yeah, that this sort of bled very nicely into the next match. Speaking of the Death Riders, we got an intergender tag team match, is how they built it. You know, a mixed tag of oh, pardon me, of John Moxley, Gabe Kidd, and Marina Shafir. Which, by the way, doesn't Gabe Kidd just look like a mini Moxley?
El Hijo del John Moxley.
He is a madman, you know.
Yeah.
Versus Mark Briscoe, who I gotta be honest, I thought that with the stretcher match at Double or Nothing, that would be like a way to take him off screen for paternity leave. No, the man is
Right.
the man's wrestling more now than he did before he got killed.
Yeah. I also thought that. I thought I it seemed the logical way to write him off, but apparently that's not what we're doing.
Mm. I'm not mad at it. You know, I'll never
No,
be
I'm
mad
not
at
either. I'm
not
pleasantly
having Mark.
surprised if anything.
Yeah, I'll never be mad at having Mark Briscoe on my screen because he's amazing. But yeah, it has surprised me. But yeah, he's in this match along with Speedball Mike Bailey, love you, Speedy, and Willow Nightingale, love you, Willow. Like these three are just maybe the most lovable team that AEW's put together.
I
You
would
get what I
agree. I
mean?
mean, between Briscoe, Willow, and even Bailey, who has already gotten very over with the crowd, this is like I saw somebody online say the ultimate babyface team, and it's got to be up there.
Yeah, it really is. You know, especially with Willow. I mean, Willow is the most pure babyface in wrestling right now, for my money. Like, she's amazing. Anyway, this match. Do you want to talk about this match? Give my voice a little bit of a rest. Um,
Sure. I loved this match. Obviously, Gabe Kidd pulled on Willow's hair at one point, and the internet exploded in a lot of ways about that. Apparently, Kidd's very jealous of Willow's hair and doesn't like that she has it and that he doesn't. So I'm sure that's that. But yeah, it was a great match. Yeah, a really great match actually. I loved it. A couple of the moments that I really appreciated were again those intergender moments that we keep having. Of course, Bailey did the triple the moonsault off a chair. Briscoe did actually. And pointed to the sky as a Sabu tribute, so I loved that. He didn't mess it up though, so it wasn't really a good Sabu tribute, but I'll take it. Either way, there were a lot of awesome kicks from Bailey, and the Death Riders, just brawling all around there. I believe somebody got thrown into the outer, one of the outer walls real hard. I forget who. I think
think
I think Claudio did that to somebody.
I think it was Speedball because I remember Speedball
Yes,
also taking the bump through the timekeeper's table, like he gets
yes, that's
properly.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Speedball just got absolutely destroyed
he
after
really did.
looking
Yeah,
really
the
good.
Speedball's entire sort of mantra in this match was like, just dump me on my fucking head. I can take
Yep,
it. Because there were like
pretty much.
3 or 4 separate bumps where he just absolutely stacks it on his neck, and you're like, oh my god, is he okay? But fortunately, he was okay somehow.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We're gonna
this
be
was a
saying that a lot
yeah,
tonight.
this was a very stiff night of wrestling. Like there's so many spots in this show that are just like, oh my god, where you're just watching through your fingers. One of which we'll talk about later on during the TNT title match that was genuinely sickening.
Yeah,
Um, but like every
close down the shop.
literally, well, apart from maybe the Frat House match, which we'll talk about regrettably. Apart from that one, which is a bit of a nothingness, there's at least one spot in every single match tonight, last night, that I just went, "Oh my god!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Um.
yeah, this. Oh, go on.
Oh yeah. No, I was just gonna say if I could think of anything else that really happened. I haven't mentioned Willow a ton, but I remember that she was great in the match.
Yeah, she was. I mean, Willow is. I
Willow's
feel like
Willow.
we get very sort of bogged down in Willow's sort of character and her personality and her presentation, and it's not mentioned as much that she is a phenomenal wrestler.
Yeah.
Like she this you talk about like women's sort of powerhouses, people who women who are sort of really strong, the sort of the big women of wrestling, using sort of the same way as you say big man for wrestling. Willow is the archetype of that because she can lift like if she came up against someone like Samoa Joe, I would fully believe in her ability to give him a power bomb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's ridiculous, and she is a very technical wrestler as well. Like she can go sort of on the mat and wrestle that sort of very fundamental technical style as well. She's an all rounder, but she does the powerhouse stuff so well. Just I could gush about Willow for the entire 2 hours or so that we go for these, but I will keep it brief and say that this match was very good. The Death Riders got the win in the end. I think it was all three of them locked in their submissions right at the end, and obviously it comes with the bulldog choke.
Yeah, I like the finish of this. They're obviously trying to get their heat back from losing at Anarchy in the Arena and trying to remind the audience, yeah, we lost, but we're still really tough and you still shouldn't fuck with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the right decision as well because
Yes.
you can't have them lose all the time. Moxley. You talk about, well, we want Moxley to lose. Yes, I agree. I want him to lose it all in. But until then, he's still the AEW World Champion. He probably shouldn't be losing a random six man, at the start of Dynamite. So,
Right.
yeah, right decision, right winner. Very, very good match. Go and seek it out if you haven't already. Um, After that, we had a brief Hurt Syndicate promo backstage. I will say I would have liked for the Hurt Syndicate, even if it was just this sort of typical Hurt Syndicate promo. I would have liked for them to have got in front of a live crowd because I feel like this live crowd in particular would have been deafening for them. But I understand, got to keep it moving.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have liked them to be in person too, but it is what it is. It was a good segment. Just MGF hyping them up, and I mean it's just a Hurt Syndicate segment. They looked the faction looks good together, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. They have 5 defenses so far, so I'm hoping we can get a few more before All In.
Hmm. I'm hoping, beyond hope, that Buddy Matthews is back soon, because
Yes.
I feel like the Hounds will give the Hurt Syndicate their first really good match, because this is the thing, right? We talk about the Hurt Syndicate. I don't want to talk about them too much because there is a lot to talk about, and this was a very minor part of the show. But the Hurt Syndicate, you have Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin in there, two very good wrestlers, especially Shelton. You should be able to give them opponents that can make them really shine in the ring. So do that, Tony, please, if we can. I wouldn't talk about, we don't want the same usual suspects, but fuck it. Give them FTR. Just let FTR have like a proper 20-minute match with them on like I don't know, that 4-hour show that we have the next week or the week after or whenever it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'd love to see them fight Mike Bailey and
Kevin
Knight. Yeah, Kevin Knight, and actually, I just saw online that Kevin Knight is due back imminently on AEW, so that'll be exciting.
He didn't do particularly well in the Best of the Super Juniors, so
yeah, that would imply that, right? Because I don't think it's over yet. Question mark.
I'm not sure whether I think that actually the main bracket is over now. Now it's just like you have a couple weeks until Dominion. I think it's Fujita versus Yo, which is not how I thought that was going to go. But regardless, it does mean that Nick Wayne and Kevin Knight should be expected back pretty recently, maybe even as recently.
I feel like they just left, or at least I feel like Nick Wayne just left. I feel like Kevin Knight's been gone for longer, but I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, well, Nick Wayne was doing angles right up until he got on the plane. So, like, the gap, and plus the way New Japan works, it's like, they have they schedule shows sort of day in and day out. So a tournament like that will only last about 2 weeks, whereas in AEW it would probably last about 2 months.
Right. After that, we had a Ricochet promo. If we want to look at that, it was a backstage promo. To be clear, he wasn't in the ring, but I'm sure if he would have gotten lots of cheers.
Yeah, he says he wants his own minions.
Yeah, well, get in line, buddy. Athena's already got her minions.
But yeah, he wants his own crew.
His own crew. TREW, not any other crew.
I mean, maybe Action Andretti wants the bald lifestyle. Who knows?
I don't know, but they all have to commit to the bald lifestyle if they're going to be.
Yeah, I feel like if he's gonna have a crew, if he's gonna have his minions or whatever, they all have to be bald. They have to be bald.
Leo, get ready to learn how to shave your head because you're getting bald, buddy.
Yeah, get ready to learn number 1 all over, buddy.
That's a much better joke than mine. I was like, haircut jokes.
But yeah, good for him. Hope he finds someone he likes soon.
Maybe he'll get Arya Davari. There you go. Get Arya Davari, Brandon Cutler. What an all-star team.
Yeah, Michael Nakazawa, that'll do.
Let's go. Jay Lethal's bald. Yeah, let's keep him off TV.
Yeah.
I'm just going through the roster and I'm just like, who's bald?
Dax Harwood.
Let's go. FTR. No, well, half of FTR, yeah. Well, Cash is going to have to shave, I guess.
Just the R. But Ricochet, oh, there we go.
You know who Ricochet can get? Paul White, motherfucker.
Oh my god, imagine having just 7 foot tall fucking Big Show by Rick, sort of deferring to the tiny fucking Ricochet. You know what? I want that really, really bad now. I think that's an inspired idea.
All right. I think I've peaked with Paul White. I don't think it's getting any better than that.
So. No, and also we do need to talk about this next match because
absolutely, because it was great.
This next match was brilliant. This was a no disqualification tag team match. A replay, a rematch from the buy-in on Sunday. This was Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford versus Anna Jay and Harley Cameron. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't one of these teams get a team name this week?
They did. So I don't think they said it on commentary, but it did say it on. They did say it on the trash can lid. I think it said Mega Bad. So like Megasis plus Super Bad. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty creative. I don't believe Anna Jay and Harley have a team name yet, but the fact that Mega Bad have a name now, I mean, we were already like, yeah, they're definitely doing tag titles. I mean, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
I think Harley Cameron and Anna Jay should be feel the ass.
You know, unironically, I kind of think that's pretty good, and you maybe should do that. I don't know if that gets past the censors because TBS has been really like, and Max have been like kind of sensitive lately to that, but whatever. Oh, I thought it was really funny, by the way, that they were censoring the crowd during the Hangman segment, but then they cut to the anarchy in the arena where Justin Roberts said shit, and they didn't censor him at all.
Yeah, well, obviously Justin Roberts gets a pass.
Of course.
He's,
But
he's the
anyway,
Dapper Yapper. You're going to
yeah,
censor the Dapper Yapper? Anyway, yes,
yeah.
this match. This match starts really hard. Like, they drag out a load of weapons. Like you said, Megan Bayne had the trash can lid. I think Harley Cameron had a chair. I think maybe they both had chairs. But yeah, they
Megan had a
start.
gold chair. That was her thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But then, they get in the ring and they start whacking each other. There's a great spot right at the start of this match where I think I think Hannah J hits her with like a 2x4 or something like
Yeah.
that. I think that's what she brought to the ring. She brought like a piece of wood or
Yes.
whatever. She smacks Megan Bayne across the back with it, and Megan just sort of, she does the spot of like she turns around like that didn't hurt. What the fuck are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And she's about to grab Anna Jay when Harley Cameron comes in, and Harley Cameron has the pipe. She's used the
Yeah.
pipe a few times. She whacks Megan Bayne. Like you could properly hear the ping off her back. Like the ding, right, like oh, it sounded so awful. And
Harley just I learned from this match that Harley loves laying down the pipe. So she's
yeah,
just
she
a
does.
big fan of the pipe. Big fan of
I
laying it
said
down.
I said during the match that Harley Cameron and Joey Janela are part of a very exclusive group now of people who have got to pipe Megan Bayne.
um yeah, I mean this started off really in terms of the action and maybe other ways hot. Harley delivered had a DDT that looked really good to Megan, which is impressive given Megan's size on a trash can. And just I mean chairs, they had the trash cans like we said, the tables. Um Megan Bayne gave a nice DVD through a table to Anna
Yes.
Jay. Everybody looked great in this match, honestly. Even when they weren't like throwing around chairs and tables and trash cans, like everybody, all the wrestling moves looked really good.
Hmm. But yeah, what I
Oh, and the tag team moves especially. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the tag team moves were brilliant. No, I wanted to put over the spot where Megan Bayne goes through the table because Harley Cameron tries to do like one of those sunset flip power bombs off the apron, and she can't. Megan Bayne holds on, she can't quite get it, and I think Anna Jay then hits her with the like 2x4 or something, and she doesn't go down again. And then she grabs the steel chair, the golden steel chair, whacks her across the head with it, and that is what causes her to lose her grip. And Harley Cameron puts her through the table. I thought it was a really fantastically done spot.
Yeah, I really like this spot, and it just looks super impressive. The tag team work by Anna and Harley, and putting Megan through that table. I mean, it just looked brutal. It looked brutal. It was done perfectly. Of course, what
Mm.
happened next is really what we got to talk
Speaking of
about.
brutal,
When my dog stops barking.
but yeah, speaking of brutal, um, I forget exactly what they were going, what Harley Cameron was going for. But Harley Cameron goes for something on the outside, and Megan picks her up, and at some point during the match, the steel steps have been sort of overturned, or not overturned, but they've been put on their side, and Megan Bayne slams her face first onto the steel steps, and you can hear the crunch of Harley Cameron's nose on those steps. I don't know whether there was like a miscommunication, whether Harley just couldn't get her arms up in time to take it on her arms and not her face, but she absolutely stacks it on those steel steps. And you could hear it. I don't know whether you caught this either, but you could hear what I'm sure like a couple of seconds later, I'm sure the mics picked up Harley Cameron properly crying on the outside because I imagine she probably broke her nose. certainly it was gushing blood when the camera panned back to her, sort of 30 seconds later. But yeah, this was absolutely brutal.
Yes, I was really caught off guard because it looked like Harley caught herself and I didn't hear the crunch. And so mostly what I saw and heard was Harley screaming, but screaming at the doctor to basically leave her the fuck alone. Because she's like, no, I'm finishing the match. It's just a broken nose. It's just a broken nose. She didn't say that, but that's how she was acting. And she's like, this is not going to stop me. So she goes on to finish the match, which was crazy. And disrupts the pin attempt, gets in there and uses a bunch of moves to try to get the ultimate advantage over on Megan Bayne and Penelope, but 2-on-1, so she can't do it much. She gets hit by this Doomsday device. It doesn't look like they really hit her, but she just broke her nose, so I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
It's like I saw some
I don't
people.
yeah.
Go on.
I was gonna say I don't really care about shit like that if someone's genuinely hurt. Like if people are just kayfabe hurt and you botch the move, that's one thing. But like she was genuinely hurt and like we don't know if she'll be out or what. So I mean, hopefully not. Maybe she'll just have a nose brace or I don't fucking know something for her
Yeah,
nose.
hopefully she has. I could see her getting some real mileage out of having to wear one of those sort of Batman style face masks, like you see.
Yeah,
Um,
I
obviously
can't
we
wait
don't.
till she goes like I'm Harley.
Oh my god, she absolutely will as well. Like, obviously, you would never wish for someone to have to wear
Yeah,
one of
right.
those things, but if you're gonna wear them, Harley Cameron, she's the sort of woman that will make chicken salad out of the chicken shit that is getting your nose broken.
Right. But yeah, this was a
Um,
great match.
yeah,
I really enjoyed. I mean, it's a I don't even think we need to say much. It's a women's no disqualification match. Every single time this happens, they put on a banger. So I immediately knew,
yeah,
oh, this is going to be a
absolutely,
banger.
yeah, absolutely. Like they never miss. I don't know how, but they really do never miss.
I'll tell you what was a miss. The next thing we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, you didn't like this very much at all. Oh, before we talk about that, just want to put
Yes.
over very briefly Mercedes Moné arriving in a lowrider in El Paso, Eddie Guerrero
Yeah.
country. You know, you knew she was gonna do it, but it still popped me nonetheless.
Very good stuff. I actually didn't see it coming, but I really appreciated it. A
I,
little
I
side
saw an
tangent.
I saw some Eddie tribute coming. I didn't see
Yeah.
specifically the lowrider, but
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That I agree with you then. Little side tangent. I grew up watching mid 2000s SmackDown, early 2000s to mid 2000s SmackDown. So prime Eddie Guerrero era. So I mean, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I'm very glad that Mercedes can always shout him out. Just one of the best of all time. And I mean, one of the best matches of all time, him versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc. Anyway, yeah, I'm so glad that she was able to do that. It was an awesome little thing. So
yeah.
anyway, a bad, terrible little thing happened after that, and I don't know if Adam's going to lead on this or I'm going to lead on this, but I got a lot to say.
Could you please keep it to like 5 minutes? We got so much more to talk about.
But Sammy, oh wait, no, sorry, he's not in this segment. Um, look, here's the I almost said here's the skinny. Here's the deal. You had the Ops coming out for a squash match versus
Ooh.
the Frat House. Now I don't watch ROH these days. I stopped watching a while ago, to be honest with you. I watch the pay-per-views and I love the pay-per-views and I appreciate a lot of the people on the ROH roster, but it's just not a show for me. It's not a show I go out of my way to watch. So, yeah,
Yeah, I'm the same.
I didn't have a lot of experience with the Frat House, I guess is what I'm getting at. So the Frat House is Preston Vance, Griff Garrison, who the fuck is Griff Garrison, and Cole Carter, accompanied by, of course, their manager Jack Jameson, who used to be in another stable, but we won't talk about that. The basically,
Just to say, by the way, poor Bear Bronson.
yeah, absolutely, it's not his fault. I hated this so much. This was one of the worst fucking things I've ever seen on Dynamite. I hated it
Oh my
so much.
god, that's
It's just
such a high that's such a high
I
bar.
know.
What the
Look, I
fuck?
skipped over Nightmare Collective shit when I went back,
We,
so maybe this
we
is worse. But like,
We had Billy Gunn versus Jay White on Dynamite. Are you saying that this is on that level?
yeah, I actively wanted to change the channel. I actively
Oh
wanted
my
to like do
god.
anything besides watch this. This is garbage. I just I don't like the gimmick. It just reminds me of Chase U from NXT. I'm gonna be real. I don't appreciate. I just don't think it's funny. I don't think it's interesting. I guess if you want to like be super contrarian about it, it gets heat from me just because like I hate it and it sucks. But it's like for me personally,
Oh,
this is go
yeah,
away heat.
Dory, it's supposed to be bad, don't you know?
Yeah, they're being
That's
bad
the
on
ennui
purpose.
that's the ennui of wrestling right now. It's bad on
Yeah,
purpose.
it's bad on purpose. Look, I'm not gonna say. By the way, this is nothing against Preston Vance, Griff Garrison. Who the fuck is Griff Garrison? Or Cole Carter, especially Cole Carter. I know Adam's very upset with me for not liking this, but
I like Cole Carter.
yeah, I
And
bet you
look,
do.
we all have our our favorite shitters. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We
Uh,
all have our favorite people who are bad, and Cole Carter is mine because he's a very
it
attractive
was
man.
great to see Samoa Joe just fuck him up real quick, and Hobbs, Oh my god, I just remembered Cole Carter absolutely botched.
Oh,
I've
I
never
know.
seen someone botch a spider. How do you even botch that? All you have to do is go up in the air. I'm sorry. Again, I know this shit happens and it's live TV, but I couldn't believe it. I was like, please turn this shit off. I just think the gimmick sucks. It's not about the three guys. I genuinely do like Preston Vance, Griff Garrison, and Cole Carter is fine. I just have seen enough of them to really have a big opinion. But either way, I just hated this. I thought it sucked. It went on for a minute and a half longer than I would have liked it to. And yeah, I mean, if you want to say that that means they're succeeding at their job, you go ahead. But I wanted to change the channel. This sucked. People complained about MJF and Jeff Jarrett promos. I thought those were fine or even good in some parts. This was like this made me want to like just watch anything else. I'm like, I just hate the gimmick. I think the gimmick sucks. I think it's uninventive, and it just reminds me of other gimmicks from other companies that I feel like we're better than this one. So, and that's I don't even want to be giving NXT praise, but Jesus Christ, this just sucks. This sucked, and I hated it a lot. So please never put them back on the screen, or I will complain about it again very loudly online. I'm sure that'll change a billionaire's mind. But yeah, that's my little thing. Adam, anything you want to say about this horrible stuff?
Win or lose, we booze.
God damn it! And there
I
are
had to
some
look that.
people
I had
that
to
I
look
saw
that up.
that were either ironically or unironically, I don't know. I will find you and I'll find out. We're saying lines like that, and we're like, we're saying, "Oh, this is awesome." Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I just don't. It was something that I forgot about 2 minutes after it happened, so I can't hate it that much. You know what I mean? It's like going back to what I said about like Billy Gunn versus Jay White. That actively pissed me off. Like that was the sort of thing that I would dedicate 20 minutes, 30 minutes on a podcast to absolutely ripping into. But this was just like it happened. It was like a 3 minute squash match for Samoa Joe and the Ops. Good for them. Whatever. Didn't it happened? Fine. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. I'm good too to move on. I said all I had to say.
Uh, yeah, because the next thing that happened, this is the thing that I am most persuaded by when people hate on that frat house segment is that took time from this, which is Jamie Hayter is standing in the middle of the ring after the advert break or whatever, and Jamie's about to cut a promo after she lost to Mercedes Moné. The lights go out, and who should make their finally all elite wrestling debut but the toxic spider, the stardom bad girl Tekla herself. And like I say, this is the one argument that you really could have persuaded me on, is that this was too short.
It felt awkward. It felt disjointed. I didn't think it was bad, and I love Tekla. I think she's great. Her promos are awesome. Her character work is awesome. She's got the aura. But I don't know about her wrestling. I did watch Stardom, but I usually skipped matches she was in, not because of her, but because I didn't like hate. I just didn't think they were a very great stable, and
Yeah,
they were kind of boring and repetitive. They were basically Stardom's House of Torture. I'm not
I
saying
was
they're
just
as
about
bad
to
as
say.
that.
I was just
Yeah,
about to say they were Stardom's House of Torture for me,
yeah,
but not.
and not
But yeah,
necessarily just so repetitive. And some of the people in that match. I mean, Momo's amazing, and I know Tekla can put on good matches, but just the gimmick was weighing them down. It's a case of good wrestlers being weighed down by a shit heel gimmick that Stardom desperately wanted to get over, and I hated it. So, but Tekla herself, very cool. The spider gimmick is awesome. Please, not immediately necessarily, but I mean, even with the lights out thing that they did, I feel like they're teasing her and Julia and Sky are going to have a stable. I think that fits so well. You test out
mm,
Tekla for a little bit, see if she can really hang in the ring, and if she can, honestly, late this year or early next year, whoever beats Mercedes at some point for the TBS title should Tekla should win it off them. I think that would be good if Tekla shows that she can go. And this Jamie feud should figure that out for us.
yeah, I absolutely agree. That sounds like an inspired, way to slot her into AEW TV without because my thoughts on Tekla, broadly speaking, are good wrestler. I've seen some of her matches in Stardom. She wasn't actively changed the channel like House of Torture are in New Japan for me. So I have seen some of her matches. Not a bad wrestler, pretty good. She's not the sort of person that you bring in to take TV time away from anyone else. So if you're gonna bring her in, I want her to be brought in a way that slots her more seamlessly into AEW as it exists right now. And yeah, I think bringing her in as part of the women's tag division that they're hopefully starting up, with Sky and Julia or even someone else, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's a great fit for her. You get what I'm
Perfect.
saying?
It's perfect. Yes, I do, and it's perfect because Julia does that talk this tarantula move, right? And
Hmm.
I just think it's a perfect fit. The aesthetic works between both of them. I think you could have Tekla as the leader of the faction too. I definitely think Sky and Julia at some point should be tag champs when that belt happens, and I'd like to see Tekla if she can show that she can go at the level that AEW needs her to. And that, you don't stay in Stardom for a few years by being a shitter, right? So generally speaking,
No.
right, unless you've got insane political clout or some shit. So and you're a legend or
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
regardless, Tekla's great.
Unless you're Mayu Iwatani, I have agendas. She's gone to Marigold. Fuck her.
No comment. No comment.
Say,
But yeah,
Rossi,
this was an
I
odd
feel like
segment,
I'm
but I'm
young.
I'm confident that she and
Um,
Jamie can put something together. And also, she tagged Mina and said that she's coming after her, so that's gonna be great.
Woo! Excellent. So yeah, moving on from that because otherwise we will get bogged down in it. Next up was the TNT Championship match, and as soon as I saw that this wasn't the main event, I went, "Oh no!" Because if it had been the main event, I'd have been like, "Wonderful, new TNT champion, my proto star, my boy Carl Fletcher is on top
Adam,
once again."
Adam, listen really closely. Okay, I'm gonna whisper this right into the mic. Kyle was never winning. He was never winning. Did that even catch? I have no idea if that caught.
It
Basically,
did catch. It did catch.
okay.
I'm just treating you to the silent treatment because that's what
Okay,
that
good, good, good.
statement deserves. Um, you're wrong. If it had been the main event, if it th- this, I'm serious on this. If this had been the main event, Carl Fletcher was going to win this match. But obviously, it was never going to be the main event because there was only one way this was going to go, which is, put it this way: if this had been the main event and they'd done this finish, I'd have been really, really pissed off with them. Do you get what I mean?
I
As
get what
it,
you mean. Look, AEW and DQ finishes. I watch Simon Miller every week, and Raw just did their 50 millionth DQ a couple days ago. I I don't like DQ finishes generally. I'm not saying they can never work, but generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of them because it just feels like a non-finish. And unless you've got immediate follow-up plans, eh. But in this case, I kind of expected it. and B, it made sense within the story because Don Callis' family is going to protect their own. Plus, Kyle comments on it later, so a little bit of a rift there. Although I did appreciate when Simon was like, I don't know why he's upset that someone from Don Callis' family got involved because that's like getting a job at McDonald's and being like, well, what do you mean I have to work? I have to make burgers, but because I mean that's what Don Callis' family does, right? It does, right? They got involved in matches, so.
Go deal with your dog. I will talk about this match. So, yeah, this match. This is a hard one for me to sort of to talk about. Not sort of emotionally. I'm not like I don't want to talk about Carl Fletcher losing, but like this is a difficult one because I feel like up until the finish, this was actually going to be a pretty good match. It was a good match. I'm not just I'm not trying to equivocate here. I really like the spot of they're trying Cole trying to go for the Panama Sunrise, and Carl Fletcher just sort of sits down and catches him in a pin. I thought that was really smoothly done. And I think Adam Cole is a better wrestler than people have been giving him credit for so far this year. I really like I really like the work he did in the 6-man tag during in Double or Nothing, or at Double or Nothing, I should say. I think he's a good wrestler. Carl Fletcher is obviously one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. I will stand by that statement. So yeah, I think this was a good match. I get the finish. That's the nice thing I will say about it. I get the finish. I get that you want to build to a bigger match, maybe at sort of the summer blockbuster, maybe even at All In. I don't know, but like it's still a DQ finish, and
Yeah.
I am reflexively against DQ finishes in AEW. I get that they can work, and I'm contradicting myself because at the time I was like, well, people are only against DQ finishes because of the Vince era and WWE and whatever. I still do think there's always a better way to do things than a DQ finish, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's always a more creative thing you can do than a DQ finish, but as long as they're used sparingly, it's not something that bothers me too greatly. And they do use it sparingly. This I will put over that this blended very seamlessly into the next match that they showcased because it was Josh Alexander, of the Don Callis family that caused the DQ. They beat down Adam Cole, and then Brody King, who is facing Josh Alexander later, on this show, comes out with a steel chair to chase everyone off, and then that blended very ECW style, as Tony is wont to do, into the next match. That's pretty cool. So I'll put that over, but this was a good match until the finish that had flashes of greatness, and ultimately, I suppose, did its job because I'm looking forward to the eventual rematch.
Yeah, I think this is probably building to either a summer blockbuster. Does summer blockbuster happen before All In?
Yeah. Summer Blockbuster, I think, is it next week?
Oh God, maybe.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. You keep talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. So
Um,
yeah, I don't mind the DQ finish, but I mean, it's not my favorite finish by a country mile, and I'm not a huge fan
oh
of
no.
it. But it is what
Next
it
week
is.
is Fighter Fest. Next week is
Okay.
Fighter Fest. The week after is Summer Blockbuster.
Okay. So maybe they're building to that. I when is Arena Mexico? Is that
That
like
is
late June?
the 18th.
Oh, the 18th. Wow. So they're having like three big events back to back to back, and then All In is like not long after that. That's crazy. I mean,
Mm.
it's good, but it's crazy. Uh, but yeah, I mean the match that Adam and Kyle had was great. I really liked, did we talk? Did you mention the whole part where it looked like your boyfriend just killed
Oh
Adam
my
Cole?
god. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to mention that because I was too
That's
distracted
okay.
by the DQ finish. Yeah,
Yeah,
this was the gnarliest fucking spot I've seen in a long time. So, we've all seen an apron powerbomb before. It's a Kevin Owens special. It's I think Carl Fletcher does them pretty well. Who else does them? I don't know, but loads of people do them. It's a standard. It's part of the standard wrestling canon now that people do apron power bombs all the time. So Carl Fletcher picks up Adam Cole and tries to give him an apron powerbomb. Tries and the standard sort of delivery is that you will hit on the square of your back, and it looks very brutal, but ultimately it's not too bad. This one though, fuck me, because Adam Cole, I still don't know how he is okay after that, because Carl Fletcher wildly misjudges the angle that he has to throw Adam Cole into this apron, because he throws him and Adam Cole, the back of Adam Cole's head smacks straight into the apron. Oh my god! And you could hear Excalibur. You know, he's about to go like, "Oh, that's so awful" or whatever. Like, "Oh, ow," and he just goes, "Oh no!" It's like, "Oh my god!" He might, the pure reactions of someone who's like, "Oh, that's a concussion." Because I think we
Yeah.
all thought with Adam Cole's history of concussions as well, we thought, oh no, oh that's dreadful.
Yeah,
Fortunately,
I
it
was
seems
I
like
was really worried when I saw this. And I'm a mixed belief about this. I don't know if it was a work. I don't know if I mean, did you rewatch it? Did he genuinely hit his head there? I don't know. It
I
looks
I
like he
rewatched
does.
I rewatched in slow motion, and apparently it's either a glancing blow or it's his elbow that you hear hit. It's not as
Oh,
bad as it looks,
okay.
which probably accounts for the fact that he was able to continue.
Yeah, he's
Because I think
completely fine after this. I mean, he wrestled completely fine. He there's a spoilers. There's a post match angle where him and Kyle get into another fight, and he looked
mm,
completely like, just fine. I mean, he was brawling like nothing had happened. So I don't know one way or the other what this was, but it worked the fuck out of me.
it really did. I cannot believe for 1 second that they intended to do this. The margins are far too close.
Yeah.
You
So
get what I
I
mean?
don't
Like,
know. I don't know if Adam slipped out of his hand. In that case, I don't know if Adam slipped out of his hands or Kyle just didn't put enough oomph in it or both or what. But either way, it's I'm glad that Adam's okay. And mistakes happen. I do not think Kyle needs to get any kind of credit for being unsafe or whatever. Something obviously, if that's the case, went wrong and shit happens in wrestling. I don't think it's a big deal. Kyle's had incredibly long matches where neither guy has ever gotten seriously hurt in any way.
not
So yeah,
not to
I don't think
mention
you have to
he's
worry
had
about that.
he's done spots from the top of a steel cage. He's done,
Yes.
God, that's so many fucking top rope brainbusters, which, is a far more dangerous spot than this is.
Yes, right?
So, like, I don't. The last thing I want is for people to start branding Carl Fletcher a dangerous wrestler off this. He's not a dangerous wrestler. Everyone makes mistakes, you know.
Exactly. But
Yeah,
anyway, let's
this
talk
was
that
woof.
Brody and Josh match because
Yes, let's talk
that
about.
was a humper too.
It really was. This match was my match of the night, personally. I don't know about you. It's either that or the Death Riders one. I'm not sure.
I lean more towards the Death Riders match, but I mean, I loved this match and I love who won. Finally,
Yes,
a big Brody win.
finally. I'm very glad that Brody King has finally broken out of that sort of. I don't want to say jobber to the stars, but it did sort of feel like that at some point. I get it's preferable to not having him on TV because obviously Buddy is
Right.
hurt. The plan was obviously for them to have a tag team run of some point. I don't know whether they were planned to win the tag titles or something, but obviously the plan was for them to go on a tag team run. Obviously Buddy damn near shattered his ankle against Okada. Or it wasn't even against Okada, it was just against the fucking apron. Um Man jobbed to the fucking ring post. Um but yeah. So like I say, it's been preferable to not having him on TV, but I am very, very happy to see him finally get a win on Dynamite. And against someone who is, you know, Josh Alexander, I don't think is in the upper echelons of the Don Callis family, like Takeshita and Fletcher, but he's still a credible threat. He's still been brought in as someone who can, take a match and win, and be a very good wrestler at the same time. So yeah, absolutely very happy for Brody to win this. Do we want to talk about the Of all the brutal spots, this is the funniest of the night by
The
far.
the one where, well, there's two brutal spots. Well, I guess one's less brutal than the other. But I mean, Brody smacking his hand on the ring
Oh
post,
my
I thought
god, yeah.
was I mean, that's the whole crux of the match, right? I'm like, oh, like Josh is gonna be. I'm not that I'd be unhappy if Josh won because Josh is a great wrestler, but it's like, oh, Josh is gonna win. Brody's gonna take another L. Like, oh, come on. Like, I'm tired of seeing him lose. And you know, but either way, that's not what ended up happening. But this was a really good kind of way to make me think, oh well, Josh is gonna work over that arm and he's gonna win that way, and that's gonna, like, you know, he's gonna outsmart Brody's power. And that was pretty brutal. But what the spot you're actually talking about is that towards the end of the match, the I believe it was a
A
what
German
did they even
suplex.
it was a German suplex, and uh, Brody landed ass first right on Josh Alexander's face.
Yeah, yeah. And again, like Harley Cameron, the gushing of blood makes me believe he has to have broken his nose.
Yeah,
Like there's
probably another
no,
broken nose. I mean, that's
yeah.
wild.
But unlike Harley, I mean, like Harley Cameron gets her nose broken by taking a full-on steel step to the face. Josh Alexander gets his nose broken by Brody King fucking sitting on him, essentially. Which I think, like, I don't want anyone to get their nose broken, but that's just fucking sending me.
Yeah,
of
it is.
all,
It is a
of
pretty
all
funny
the
way.
of all the ways, right? Of all the ways to get injured in a wrestling match, it comes from you doing a German suplex and the big fucking guy just sitting on your face.
It's so funny too because right before that happened, I was like, "Damn, Josh is so impressive. The fact that he can lift up Brody, and oh my god, what the fuck happened to him?"
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. You don't notice it at the time because you just think, "Oh, a really good German suplex," and then they pan the camera to him, and he's absolutely gushing blood out of his nose, and you're like, "Did I fucking miss something? Like, did someone like come in and smack his head on a chair or something?" But no, you rewind and you realize, oh no, it's just because Brody King's ass is too big to clear his face. Oh,
Oh boy. So, but this match was really hard hitting, really good. A really good looking cannonball senton to one of the corner ropes from
yeah, yeah,
Brody
yeah.
that looked incredible. Josh's power moves, his German suplexes looked really good up until that point, and the Brody's lariats looked beautiful too. I mean, this was just such a hard, big,
By the way,
kind of big man slapping man meat kind of match. I mean, I know Josh isn't like huge, but he's a strong guy.
I just want to put over on that German suplex, bro. Josh Alexander, gets a bridge pin. Obviously it's like 2.5, but he managed to hold that pin. Well, he must have been in absolute agony. He's probably got Brody King sitting on him. His nose is completely fucked, and he
Yep.
still manages to get a really cool looking bridge pin for 2.5 seconds. Like, fair
What
play
a
to the
fucking
lad.
worker. Yep.
Yeah, what a worker. But yeah, I think Josh Alexander eventually he goes to the top, still gushing blood. Tries to hit a moonsault. Brody King gets the knees up. Then I think Brody King hits him with a lariat. Brave thing to do when you've just fucked his nose up. But then hits him with a Ganzo bomb. By the way, the Ganzo bomb it looks absolutely
It looks
beautiful,
so
doesn't it?
good.
Is
Uh
it Ganzo or Gonzo?
it's Gonzo.
My bad.
I thought it was the Gonzo bomb. Like you're going Gonzo.
Yes, that would make more sense. I don't know where I'm getting Ganzo from. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
either.
but yeah, and then yeah, 1, 2, 3. Brody King gets the victory. Moves on to is it next week? I think it is next week, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's next week. Because the other match is on Saturday.
Yes, that's right. So next week you have a fatal four-way match for the AEW International Championship, and they put the graphic up. Obviously, the next two people are to be determined, and I just thought, oh
You know
my
what's even
god, bro,
funnier, by the way?
go
Josh,
on.
I was just checking Twitter to see if Josh said anything. By the way, he hasn't said shit about his nose. Uh today's his today's his birthday. I'm sorry to laugh, but that is kind of funny.
Oh, poor guy. Fuck me. Oh dear. Well, happy birthday to you. Oh,
All right.
oh.
Well, that
I feel bad. I
we've
feel
already
bad
talked
for the
about
guy.
I know, I do too. We've already talked about Fletcher and Cole having a brawl. They'll probably have another match down the line. That sets us up for Tony and Mercedes.
Yes, it does. And I mean, first of all, respectfully to both these women, but especially Mercedes Moné. Good, like
Yeah, she came dressed to kill.
she really did. Like, oh, spectacular. I mean, Mercedes. Is it controversial to say Mercedes is the best women's wrestler on the planet right now? And I will say on the planet because, fuck Mayu Iwatani. Um, I have my agendas, Dory. I will stick to them until I die. You work for
I
Rossi
don't. It's
Ogawa.
not
I'm not
controversial in
considering you.
my house. It's not controversial in my apartment to say that, but I think she's certainly one of the best, if not the best. She's certainly the best that I watch on a periodic basis, or at least the most consistent. I mean, Tony's right up there too, but yeah,
I'll moderate my stance and say the best women's wrestler in North America.
sure. I think that's almost undeniable at this point.
The only person that comes close is Io. But fuck it. It's my opinion. I'm having it. Um, but yeah, she's phenomenal. And I know we had our thoughts on the booking of this match, coming up, and Jamie Hayter and etc. etc. and the women's division. But putting all that aside, this match moves the fuck out of me. Just two women at the absolute peak of their two phenomenal wrestlers at the peak of their career colliding for the world championship on the biggest stage in AEW. Oh my god, I'm so excited for this match.
Hopefully, it moves you off a cliff.
Fuck you.
But yeah, I mean, this was an incredible segment. I'm very curious what they're going to do. There are certainly some people out here who have ideas of what's going to happen in this match, and I have my own. But I can't deny that this segment was awesome. It was a really great back and forth. You talked about the Monet train and the Tony Tunnel.
what I love, she hits that line. She's like, you want to know if the Monet train, what was the line? I can't remember exactly. It's like if you were hoping the Monet train digs into the Tony Tunnel, you better. I can't remember the exact line. It was something like, you better dig deep enough, and you could just tell. You could just look on Tony's face the moment she finishes delivering that line. She wants to absolutely burst out laughing, and she smirks at Mercedes. And you look at Mercedes, and she's just giggling to herself. And it's like, oh, these women. But there's so many killer lines in this entire segment. Like I love Mercedes. She's called herself this a couple of times. She said, "Oh, well, I'm the Beyonce of pro wrestling. I'm the gold
And
standard,
saying that in
etc."
Texas, of all places.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm the Beyonce of women's wrestling. And Tony Storm goes, "Yeah, well, I'm the Tony Storm of women's wrestling." And it's like,
Such a
yeah,
good comeback.
fuck,
And I love her saying, "Yes, you are the best women's wrestler of all time, but I am timeless." And I was like, "God damn, that's
perfect,
such a good comeback."
perfect. I popped like a motherfucker for that line. Oh, excellent, excellent segment. Just the whole thing, and I loved the Tony Storm going through their careers, like the parallels of their careers. She said, we were on the
I believe
indies.
those are called cinematic parallels, Adam.
Thank you. Absolute cinema. I'm holding up my hands like Martin Scorsese. You can't see it, but but I loved that she was like, we were given trophies and flowers, and I saw someone online that was showing. I think Tony Storm won like the Mae Young Classic or something, and I think maybe Mercedes won something similar, and they were both given literally trophies and flowers,
Yes,
during their.
that was for when Tony won. the match in Stardom when she was a part of Stardom.
Ah, right. Yes, that makes sense. And I can't remember what Mercedes won. It might have been the Mae Young Classic. It might have been just Triple H wanted to give her some flowers or something. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, it might have been the Mae Young. I don't. I honestly wasn't watching wrestling at that time, so I don't know.
No, I wasn't either. But certainly not WWE.
I mean, even if you were watching WWE, were you watching wrestling?
Yeah, very very good point. Um, but yeah, this whole segment, she said that we were given our trophies and our flowers, but when that wasn't enough, we wanted more. And when we came to AEW, we found exactly what we were supposed to be. And it's like, yeah, because they did. Undeniably, first of all, Tony Storm had a far less successful career in WWE than Mercedes did. Obviously, you know. Were you there for the pie in the face and stuff?
I am aware of it. I've seen the shots. Maybe when was that? Was that 2020 or 2021 or something?
I want to say 2021 because I know Tony Storm shows up
Yeah.
um on Dynamite.
So
I
then
think he's
I was aware of it when it happened because I was already I think watching Simon Miller and I think he talked about it and he was not happy either. But yeah. Um
yeah,
so I was aware of it, yeah.
because she shows up on Dynamite. I think April 22. So I'm fairly sure she walked out of the company, right? A la Mercedes.
I believe right after the Mercedes match that she dropped out of the I thought I saw this online. I could be wrong completely and maybe you should look on Cage Match for this. But I'm pretty sure right after a match with Mercedes, Mercedes hugged her and then Tony never came back. Like she left WWE. But
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
I think she legitimately left a bit sort of. I think it was a bit more under the radar than Mercedes because I think Mercedes and Naomi leaving was a lot more disruptive to the show, and they acknowledged it on the show and stuff like that. It became much more of a big story. But I'm pretty sure Tony Storm legitimately just went, "Nah, fuck this, I've had enough," after her match and just went home and never showed up again. So like very very similar,
Yeah. She
very
apparently
similar
like took the
ways.
next flight to her hometown or whatever. Like I think she went all the way to Australia or not not Australia. Or was it Australia? Shit. She's from Gold Coast, so that's why I'm getting confused. But wherever she lives.
Yeah, maybe she lived. I mean, likelihood is she probably lives in America. I've never heard any stories
Right.
about
Yeah,
her.
so I don't know where the hell, but she took a plane and immediately went home, is my point.
Yeah, same as Mercedes. I
Yeah.
remember. Well, I mean, they dumped the tag titles on Johnny Ace's desk and walked out, which fucking legendary, by the way. But
Yeah.
you know, but yeah. So obviously, the more I'm sort of thinking about it, yeah, the parallels between the two women are staggering. Really, they have. And more to the point of putting over sort of AW and stuff. Mercedes, even when she was Sasha Banks, even sort of growing up in that NXT ecosystem, she was always a lot more sort of, I don't want to say indie pilled, but you get what I'm saying. She was always a lot more sort of appreciative and loving and dreaming of, especially Japan, but independent sort of more sports focused professional wrestling all throughout her career. There were reports back when AEW was first starting up when she threw what the reports called a hissy fit after WrestleMania 35, that there were serious considerations to her jumping ship to AEW and becoming a day one AEW woman. Which would have been fucking massive. But, you know, the like I keep saying, the parallels are striking. So this but bringing it back to this match, this match feels like the culmination of all those years of sort of paralleling each other, watching each other. Mercedes legitimately, when she came in, the one match she said to Tony Khan, "I want to have," is with Tony Storm. So like
I'm still hoping we
this,
get that triple threat with Wendy Richter, but
she's gonna fuck her. Oh god, that was so funny. So I remember the first time that happened because that was we have time. We have time to go on these tangents. That was the first. I think the first time she said it. It was the World's End press conference, and that was coming off a pretty dour show. You get what I mean? I know you were there.
I was there. I definitely know what you mean.
Like, it's maybe AEW's top to bottom worst pay per view. So like the vibe
It's got to be up
more to
there.
the point,
I've seen some of the
more to the
pandemic
point.
shows, and it's on level with that with some of those. So or
Yeah,
pandemic
it's
pay per
either
views.
that
Yeah.
it's either that or All Out 2020. I think those are the two consensus worst AEW pay per views. So like, and this is coming off. This was coming off like the Chris Jericho story, which the veracity of that has been doubted, but it certainly put a dampener on the weekend. Keith Lee wasn't cleared, Andrade left. The vibes were absolutely in the toilet for AEW at the time, and Tony Storm I remember her standing up and just going, "There's one woman, because there have been rumors that Mercedes is coming in. There's one woman I want to face. It's got money written all over it." She just stands up with Wendy Richter. I'm gonna fuck you up, and I remember it was like sort of 5 o'clock in the morning, and I just remember absolutely cackling to myself, trying
Yeah.
not to be too loud so as to not to wake everyone in the house. But I was just like, oh, finally, some fucking levity.
Adam, imagine coming from all the way New Hampshire to New York just to see one of the worst AEW pay-per-views.
I know.
Uh, shouldn't be me.
Genuinely, not to break any sort of secret kayfabe that we have. I feel so fucking bad for you.
Curtain call moment right here on the podcast.
I feel so bad for you. That must absolutely suck. I've been very
I
fortunate.
try to look at the positives though. There were some real bangers on that show, like the Christian and Cope ladder match
There were,
was really good.
there were two very good matches on that show. You have Christian and Cope, and you have Moxley and Kingston. Two very good
I
matches.
even liked I know it was limited, but I even wait, maybe you just said this, but I even liked Joe versus Max to a degree. I know obviously he
Yeah,
couldn't work as well, but I still thought that was pretty good. Oh,
it
and
was a
yeah,
good
Moxley versus
match.
Kingston was amazing. God, that Andrade match. Yeah, Tony and Rio had a good match, but it wasn't as good as you thought. God, that Julio match was not good.
It really
Uh
wasn't. Was
I
it Julia
forgot
and
Hook had a
Abaddon?
match with Wheeler Yuta. What the fuck?
Holy shit. Hold on, we have time.
And
We
that
have
8-man tag had rancid vibes. So that's the only part of Sting's retirement I'll ever look at and be like, yeah, that wasn't a good choice. But
and the Swerve and Dustin match,
not
being the
good.
standby. And I really liked, I know we're getting wildly off topic here, but fuck it, it's my show. Um But I really liked the angle that they shot right after that, where it was, or right before that, where it was Dustin Rhodes, getting in the ring because Keith Lee isn't cleared, and Swerve fucking murders him. Like he hits him with like a cinder block, and he hits him with the Swerve stomp and the house call and whatever. I just thought wonderful. Established Swerve as like this killer heel coming off the Texas Death Match with Hangman Page. I thought, right, perfect. If you can't do the Keith Lee match, that's a perfect replacement. And then they did another 10 minutes, and I thought, oh, great, you fucking ruined it.
Yeah.
Because why is Dustin
So
Rhodes coming
I
back
agree
from
with
that?
Cage Match. I agree with Cage Match on what matches are worth watching back from that event. The 8-man tag team match, which was basically like an all-star 8-man tag from the C2, that was really
Hmm.
good. That was the first match. So I was like, wow, this pay-per-view is gonna be great. Yeah. And then the other few matches I already mentioned, the Cope match, and then of course the Eddie Kingston match was great. And I even thought the Joe match was good. I know MJF couldn't work as much because of his shoulder. But anyway, we're getting wildly off topic, and
We
it,
are.
it's
God,
it is it
I'm
is
on Cage Match. I'm on Cage Match. There's just an hour block in the middle of this show that is absolutely fucking dire.
yeah, it's just not good.
Swerve and Dustin straight into that 8-man tag where people would just hated, wanted Chris Jericho to fuck off into the sun, followed by that Julia Hart Abaddon match. Oh my god, I might, I might have just left. I gotta be
The
honest.
best the best part of that was this is spooky. That was the best part of the match, and yeah.
What a shame. Anyway, yes,
Anyway,
wildly
but
off
this
topic.
Dynamite was much better than that, and was consistent.
Yes, it
Was a
was.
great Dynamite. So
It was a very good Dynamite. The Mercedes Tony match feels absolute money, pun intended. The story with Hangman and the world title, he has to fucking win the world title. I will not accept any other outcome. Go back up Mount Everest, Darby. You are not needed here. Genuinely, how I feel like I'm just sort of like, if Darby comes back, just just for this, just to sort of ruin this perfectly concocted story with Hangman, I will absolutely lose my shit.
yeah, I don't think Darby gets it at this point. I think he goes in a program with Hangman, and honestly, I bet they shoot on it. I bet to some degree they reference the Everest climb, and Hangman's like, "You had your chance, you sold it for a mountain." So
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's not even necessarily a shoot. You can absolutely work that into the story of like the Death Riders have been running roughshod over AEW for like a good 6 months,
yeah,
or
you got thrown
6 months.
downstairs. Like normally, I would say, "Oh, that's a huge deal." But like you've come back in less time than that before from getting thrown down the stairs. Remember
Yeah.
when that happened last time? I think he came back within a month, maybe. I forget.
Mm. But the thing is, you can even acknowledge the Mount Everest. Everyone knows Darby climbed Mount Everest. It's a massive
Right.
story. So you can absolutely be like, "Where the hell have you been? You fucked off up a mountain. You claim that you're going to be the savior of AEW and you're going to save us from the Death Riders, and yet you go off you go off and do your own thing while we've been suffering, under John Moxley's rule for the past 6 months. How dare you try and cut in line?" I think that could work really well. You know, I I almost think you could have the impetus for a I always thought that Darby Allin was going to be one of those wrestlers that you could never turn heel, but I feel like there is now an impetus. There's a section of the fan base that sort of treat him as a heel anyway, that you could do it.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do it, but you could, and you could definitely do it off the back of stuff like this.
Well, it would go better than John Cena. I know the bar is in hell. Um, but anyway,
Definitely,
anyway, that's a great place to end it on, talking about John
absolutely,
fucking Cena.
that's right.
Everyone's going to be so happy at us for that.
Everyone's going to be incredibly happy, especially. You know what? I was going to name some names, and now I'm not going to. But I'm just going to go
It's
beast on this one.
it's fine, Dory. We ruined the podcast on purpose.
That's right. That's what I say every week when I do a podcast. I'm going to ruin this shit on purpose.
But yes, regardless, very good Dynamite. Thank you very much for joining us for this one. Thank you to Dory especially. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and letting us commiserate with you about having to show up for World's End 2023. Uh,
Yeah, well, the podcast wasn't around then. Thank God. I did not want to have to ever.
oh
Didn't
my
want to
God, you would
ever
have
have to
crashed
relive
out.
that. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I get an all timer of a pay per view, as I have every time I've been to an AEW pay per view when I go
Yeah,
to
that's
Forbidden
cool.
Door in
No, that's
August.
cool. That's cool of you to say, Adam. No, I appreciate that. That's great. No, that's cool.
Some of us are just in the weed story.
I know,
But
I
yes,
know. Hey, you know
thank
what?
you.
I'm gonna fucking see AECWW in a couple months when they come to Philly. So I'm fucking pumped about that.
I feel like there's a better acronym for that.
There's got to be
We'll
a better
workshop
acronym.
it.
I absolutely Tony Khan, please. I know he's not listening, but don't take that one. There's probably a better way to do that.
Well, that is not my job. My job is to sign off this podcast, and
Yep,
I've been arrested
I'll
from
do
it
that.
far too long. So, yes, thank you very much for joining us, everybody. If you liked it, like, comment, subscribe. Do all the things that you normally do if you like something on YouTube. Who am I, your mother? Anyway, thank you for joining us. We will be back. I'm not sure whether we're doing a collision review this week. I'm in Istanbul, so I will leave that to whoever is around.
Istanbul and the Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul and the Constantinople.
Yes, thank you, Dory. It's nobody's business but the Turks.
That's right. I don't know what the Final Fantasy villains have to do with this, but yeah, you're right.
Boo. Fucking nerd. Anyway, yes. So at the very, very least, we will be back for Dynamite review next week of Fighter Fest. Very excited. That four-way looks very, very juicy. But yes, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.